Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back to the Pick and Go podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Super Rugby. And once again, I'm joined in studio by my good friend, former All Black, former Hurricane, former Blue. We won't talk about that. Pretty weepy. Welcome. How was the weekend?
Oh, it was all right. It wasn't too bad. Boys didn't get the result on the weekend, but
It was Hastings, was it?
Yep. We were pretty happy to all the way things sort of panned out. Like, it's our first game as a squad, and trying to put everything together. And we've done a bit of review on the game, and boys have got a few things to work on, which is good for us.
What was the score?
27-0.
Oh,
We blew some opportunities. Boys got a bit impatient and started throwing offloads like they were Sonny Bill, and they weren't shooting.
so at this stage, no Sonny Bills and no Joey Manu's in the team.
No, but the boys they will message me a couple of days later, like, "Oh, can we practice our offloads?" I was like, "How about you tuck it under the wing first and get stuck into it before we can offloading,
Do the hard work.
So that was good learnings. I had the boys present yesterday at training, just on some of our defensive stuff, and then obviously Thursdays is our attack day, so boys will be doing a review of that and moving forward on to Napier this weekend.
Oh,
I know, go all the way to Gizzy to play Napier.
oh, wow.
Not a bad thing though. I could message the cousins, "Hey, I need some home kill. Can you make sure you go in the bush and get some venison, and I'll take you back home?"
Is that a bus trip or you fly up?
No. You think we got the budget for that? Come on,
Budget,
Paulie.
I just asked you.
Jeez, they're just
Chipping in with your multi-winnings, Paulie. Oh,
Yeah.
right.
We'll use your multi to pay for the bus.
Yeah, we'll get to the betting results a wee bit later in the podcast. So you might have just heard Searle there of Searle Talk Sports. Searle, you were doing a bit of hard work over the weekend. Well, the results for you?
Yeah, we got the dub 52-12. We're taking on a team that was quite tired. They'd been up all night duck hunting, apparently. So, yeah, we ran them home in the second half. A good result for the boys, though. So, yeah, we'll take that. We've got a big 3 weeks coming up. And, I guess we'll find out where we are in the comp over this next month. So, it's exciting.
Very good. And, we'll find out later on in what's happening this weekend coming. But I thought we'd start the podcast off by, as we're around 2 months out from Scott Robertson's first All Blacks squad to take on the English, I thought we'd each week we'd just go through and pick out a position and just go over the main contenders for Scott. And I thought we'd start with the number 10 jersey because it's a position where we've had a lot of depth, a lot of class over the last, decade plus. And it's mainly come from the Christchurch area of New Zealand. I'm guessing it's not going to come from that area of New Zealand for this first All Black test of the season 2024. So if we have a look at the main contenders, I guess the front runner, and probably the front runner by a margin at the moment, is DMAC. Searle, would you have him as your number one pick for the number 10 jersey at this stage?
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably one of the first names you chuck in the squad, to be fair. I think his form throughout Super Rugby has been exceptional, and he's been one of the best players in the competition. He's been waiting for this opportunity for a while now, so it's cool to see him really stepping up and grabbing it with both hands. And yeah, I think he'll be the All Blacks 10 for sure. And a lot of our game planning and the excitement factor that he brings, it's really exciting to see what Razor can do with him, because I think they're going to be a coaching and playing duo that really complements each other. So I'm excited for a big shift from DMAC like we said, I think he's been waiting for this chance for a long time. With Bodie gone, now's his opportunity to claim that jersey with both hands.
TJ, I guess DMAC, is he your front runner as well? Is he, and if he is he a clear front runner for the first 5'8" position in the All Blacks?
Yeah, at this stage, yes. In terms of the way that he plays, he's obviously got a bit of speed. Likes to take the ball to the line. His kicking game's pretty good. And when it's sort of in the open pastures, he can create something out of nothing. But it totally depends on what he wants, really, out of a. I mean, Plummer and Cameron have been playing pretty solidly for both of their franchises, and it's a different element in terms of the way that they play. They don't have that the speed that DMAC has, but they still have the opportunity. I mean, they still have the ability to drive a team around the right ends of the field and organise in terms of the way that you want your team to be. So, yeah, I think at this stage, DMAC just sort of in front of those two at this stage.
Shirley, there's Plummer from the Blues, Cameron from the Hurricanes. Can you make a play for someone like a Ruben Love, who has been playing in the 15 jersey but has played first 5 before, is playing a very, very a good quality of rugby at the moment, behind a forward pack that is going forward, admittedly. Is Ruben Love, or is there a wild card that you could throw in there? A Josh Ioane? Is there someone else out there that has put their hand up, and you could say it would not surprise me to see him in the squad at 10?
I'm not sure if Ruben would get the start in the 10 jersey, but I think that versatility will be really handy for him. And he can play that DMAC role off the bench if Sean Stevenson is starting, where he can wear the 23 jersey, play 15, but play 10 as well. I think in alongside Geordie Barrett, David Harville, you have guys that are capable of filling in if there are injuries. I think Stephen Perofeta, if he can come back from injury, he would probably still be my backup 10 because he's worn the black jersey before. He's got a cap, albeit a minute odd against Argentina, a pretty rough debut. But I think we all know the quality that he possesses. And he's that game driver, that calming head, kicks his goals, really strong territory kicking as well. So I think he could come into the equation, but that's all based off the back of health. And I've been impressed with Harry Plummer. Like what Pity said before, I kind of saw him as a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none, but I think he's really relished this opportunity to wear the 10 jersey, and I think he's shown that he can be a first 5 in a really successful team. So I have liked Plummer, but I still think Perofeta for me would be our best backup option if he's healthy.
Pity, is there anyone else that we haven't mentioned so far that could be a bit of a bolter for the 10 jersey?
Nah, not. I think Searle's probably knocked it on the head in terms of. I mean, if Havili gets an opportunity to have consistent time at 10, then he could potentially be our backup 10. I don't see Ruben sort of slotting into that role. I think he enjoys, and like any fullback, enjoys the opportunity to have that free reign, but still can organise and play a second role as a pivot. To sort of take a bit of stress off your game driver. But I think majority of the boys that we've talked about is pretty accurate.
Right. So I think we're all in agreement. DMAC is first cab off the rank, and then in behind, possibly the likes of Plummer or Cameron, or if Perofeta is fit, then he jumps in ahead of those two and is back up to DMAC. Well, I hope Scotty Robertson is listening, because we've just helped him out there. We've solved the number 10 mystery for him. Well, although it's not really a mystery, to be fair. With the way that DMAC's playing at the moment, he, for mine, just stands head and shoulders above the rest of the crowd. Right, let's have a look at the results from last week. The Hurricanes, way too good for the Waratahs at the Tinny House. Pity. But Just had a look. What do I write down here? Their set piece was a bit right from the outset. That scrum, um, they just. I love the way that when games sort of you sort of get out to a big lead, they can sort of lose their shape. That didn't really happen with the Canes. They got there, and they just continued on their way. And of course, Piti Wipu decided to score a try right on full time. So it was a great all-round display by the Hurricanes, and no major injuries to come out of that. And they'll be happy that Riley is back this week ready. Although the boy that came in,
Did he do signs?
yeah.
Yeah, he'd done a pretty good job. The only bad thing would be just a couple stray lineouts. But other than that, like for him to step up, get his first start and play pretty decent, I thought he'd done an exceptional job in the two roles. So might be pushing.
Hello.
Well, hey, you never know. I mean, like we've talked about the depth that they've got. They've pulled a gem out, which we've seen from previous franchises. That they pull someone out of the hat and they flourish in the environment. But he's done a great job in terms of his job, what was required of him, and then the only thing that he did wrong was just a couple line out throws that went astray. But other than that, I'd be pretty happy with. Well, he should be pretty happy with his first outing in the Hurricanes outfit.
Shirley, you impressed by the way that the Hurricanes were able to pick themselves back up after a loss the week before and just back to business as usual?
Yeah, I think this was them righting the wrongs from the week before. Like you touched on, the set piece was dominant and just the skill set on display, in particular in the first half. It's clear they wanted to get that chip off their shoulder and start fast, and then they carried on that dominance from the rest of their game. And shout out to TJ as well, of course, racking up that record, which I'm sure you guys will talk about later. But like just his return to form, and the way he's playing at the moment, his leadership, and then his ability on and off the field, it looks like such a positive environment. And we spoke about the hookers that's coming, and everyone who's getting the opportunity at the moment is just rising to the level of the team. And that's the sign of a great environment. So, yeah, the Canes are humming, and it sets up a mouth-watering clash this week up at the Garden of Eden.
I'd hate to be the forwards coach for them at the moment. That loose forward trio that they've got, and then the guys that they can bring off the bench.
Who do you leave out?
Exactly. Like it's like everyone that's jumped on the field and started or even come off the bench have done a great job. And it's just like, how do we pick this?
Yeah, you're almost hoping for an injury just to make your job easier, aren't you?
Hey, cut that out, Surly.
Hey, come on, go the Blues.
But I agree that even that short passing in between the forwards and the loose forwards in particular, it's just so crisp, and they're not 50-50 balls. They're only passing usually when there's a good chance that the pass will be successful, and they've got the skills to back that up. So,
well, yeah, the beauty of that is like making sure, like they probably would have practiced it during preseason and every week, just the lines that they run, making sure that if they are going to be supporting, it's either to be an option to receive, or if they don't give the pass, that they're there to secure the ball for the things and recycle and then sort of keep going. So yeah, it's I'll tell you, they're definitely looking pretty sharp.
Right. Sully mentioned a mouth-watering encounter this weekend. And the other part of that equation are the Blues, who took on the Rebels and were dominant once again. There's only 1 point separating these two teams at the top of the table. So the winner of this match this weekend will probably finish top of the table, although there's a few games to go before we get to the playoffs. But the Blues, Surly, dominant once again and really didn't seem challenged by the Rebels at all.
Now, we touched on it last week that this has the potential to be a banana skin game against the Rebels side that was going back home after getting put to the sword by the Crusaders. But yeah, that second half performance from the Blues in particular, I think it was 1 point separating them at halftime and then 26 unanswered points, despite at times being down to 14. They had the injury to Rico, things like that. So yeah, they had a bit of adversity thrown their way, but that defensive system for the Blues at the moment, it's looking so hard to score points against them. So that in part is why I'm so excited for this weekend's game, because you touched on that skill set of the Hurricanes side. Now we get to see that go up against a team that's really looks like they've molded their gameplay around their defensive prowess. So yeah, well done to the Blues. It's not easy to go over to Melbourne and beat the Rebels, who are going to become really desperate over the next few weeks to get the win as well. And I thought Mark Talia was outstanding. Jeez, he's in some form at the moment. Every game, he just seems to continue to surprise you. You think he can't possibly make a break with 3 defenders on him, but somehow he finds a way to do it. He must be oiled up within an inch of his life, that bloke.
A slippery eel.
Yeah.
Well, is he heading to Parramatta?
Oh,
What? Is this breaking
Why
news?
would he
What?
do that? What? No
he would
way.
be really good at league, though. But don't leave, Mark. We need you in rugby, but he would be unreal at league.
If anything, he should be going to the Broncos. Oh,
That's not how you say the Warriors. That's not how you say the Warriors. Come on.
Highlanders travelled to Nuku'alofa and played water polo against the Moana Pacific.
I thought they were in Fiji.
Well, it reminded me of an All Black test, I think, against Scotland back in the late 70s or early 80s, where Eden Park was just absolutely waterlogged. And I think Brian Williams scored a try and slid about 60 metres when he actually scored it. It was that bad. But the Highlanders seemed to, I guess, handle the conditions slightly better than Moana Pacificus early.
Yeah, I thought this was a really intense game, but the Landers looked really good in the wet. They played the possession and territory game really well, and they executed better of the two sides. And Moana have some errors in their game. I thought they looked really strong until they got down into the red zone, and then just crucial errors at really bad times hurt them. You touched on the weather. It was cool to still see a lot of the Tongan fans come out and support, though, and the passion, like the scenes from the crowd. This guy's doing flips into puddles of water. It was exactly what we hoped for. Someone does need to have a word, though, because like you touched on, Drua games, she pisses down. Now Moana take a game back to the islands and it pisses down too. Where's this beautiful tropical weather that we want?
Maybe it was a strategy. They probably did a karakia so that they had bad weather, because no one really likes playing the home teams when it's like that.
Yeah,
I would have thought the 30, 32 degree sun, 100% humidity would have been worse for the Highlanders, as opposed to the temperature was probably closer to what it's like in Dunedin in summer than what we would usually expect in Tonga. But just as Searle said, the atmosphere there was just superb. They need to play a game in Samoa. I know they're going to alternate them season to season. They should play at least one game in Tonga and one game in Samoa every year after what we've seen there.
Oh, 100%. Even just having 2 games, one in Tonga and one in Samoa. I mean, it goes a long way for the Pacific nations when one of the teams that represents them gets to come home, and you can just, the atmosphere is totally different to what we have here. You know, I mean, everyone's celebrating, even if they're losing, they're having a great time, and it creates a awesome atmosphere. And you know, when you want to play in the Pacific Islands, one of the biggest thing is enjoying the atmosphere, and they definitely know how to sort of create one.
Right, Crusaders. They were back the week before, and they went down 28-33 to the Queensland Reds. I thought Reds came to play. They had at least one opportunity with a penalty adjacent to the post, and they decided to tap and go, and they were rewarded for that. They played some very, very good rugby. Fun fact, Jeffrey To'omanga Allen, former Hurricane, has scored a try in the last 2 games for the Reds. So he's a bit of a try scoring. You may want to factor that into this weekend because he
Yeah,
usually goes around at around $8 or $9 to score a try. I just throw it out there.
Here
Jeffrey
it is.
Tuamunga Allen.
Here it is.
He's he's finding the try line. But the Crusaders, I don't know, Searle. That's a game they would have put away even last season. And the experiment with Harville at first 5, I thought he went okay. And he'll get better as I think Pity mentioned earlier. The more game time he gets in the 10 jersey, and they're only 4 points outside the top 8. I have a look at their draw. They've got the Highlanders this weekend, and then they travel to Canberra. Then they've got the Blues at home, and then they finish off with Moana Pacifica. So nothing against Moana Pacifica, but you'd say that that's probably a game they can win. If they could pick up another win out of the other ones, other 3 games, then they're probably there or thereabouts in terms of playoffs, but they will only sneak in unless they go 4 from 4 over their last 4 games. So having a look at that game against the Reds, Searle, can you take some positives out of that for Crusader fans?
I didn't think they were that bad, to be fair. I just thought the Reds played a good brand of footy. It was cool to see that they never rolled over. Like, they showed some grit and some perseverance there to come back into that game. I just thought the Reds deserved to win. Like you touched on, I thought Harville was decent, but they need to stick with a game driver now because that's probably the 3rd or 4th 10 that they've tried now, and they seem to give them 2 or so weeks and then they make the change again. And that's so hard as a team, like, and especially as a 10, you need time in the saddle to be able to establish combinations. Guys become familiar with your voice, the way you like to play. So they need to stick with Harville now if that's the way they're going to go. And I think he has the potential to bring the best out of this team at 10 as well. So I think it is the right decision and they need to roll with that. You touched on the draw coming up. I saw shivers go down Pity's spine when you mentioned the Brumbies in Canberra, because we all know how fond he is of going to that place. But they do need to pick up 2 wins because you don't want to finish in 8th and go to the Tinny House or go to Eden Park in round 1, because I think that would be the end of their season. So if they can finish in that kind of 7 to 6 mark, then they would like their chances from there. But they're certainly not the Crusaders of old. We got excited last week when they had that big win that they were back. I think they're going to be in for some tight games, but they need to come on the winning side of those ledgers. So this probably was a game they would have circled at home to get the win, but I thought the Reds really showed up and deserved the points.
Pity, you played a number of games in the 10 jersey, so you might be able to give us a bit of perspective on how, I guess, how much your sort of confidence grows the more you play in the position, as opposed to, 2 weeks in, then you're out, then come back in 3 or 4 weeks, and then you're out again. Can you, I guess, in terms of Harville, make a case for him? Yes, just give him a good go. Just let him play there for the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, and then if we make the playoffs, we've got a first 5-8 that's had that sort of grounding.
Oh, well, obviously he's done it for the Marcos when he's had that opportunity, so he knows exactly what the ins and outs are when it comes to playing in that role. I think it's more, them trying to stick to their selection processes, because not only does it create opportunities for them, but it's also trying to figure out the combinations with the guy on the inside of him, the guys on the outside of him too. So working with your midfielders, knowing exactly how they want to sort of strike in certain areas, how they do it. But I mean, to any first 5-8, if you're in for 2 weeks, you're trying to make the most of it, create the best opportunities available, not just for yourself but for the team. When you get dropped, you find that some of those boys in the professional environment, they don't shy away from it. They're willing to try and work hard to be back in that starting role. And sometimes, it might come off that they're not working hard. They could actually be away from the environment, working on certain aspects of the game. But I guess, for Tamati and Ko around their attack, I'm pretty sure they want a bit more consistency with their first 5'8". So, having Havili sort of continue that role in driving the team. But not only that, he's got you got to make sure that you've got your spine intact to make sure that that's all working really well. So obviously 9 and fullback working hard together and not just sort of 3 players in that spine of 5 working while the other 2 are sort of just doing their own thing.
Right. Chiefs, just wow. 56-7 against the Force. And outside of some injuries that they picked up, Searle, that was the exact sort of display you wanted to see from them as we get closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, like you said, that's exactly what you want is the 5-point win, because I think we've all been a little surprised to see them sitting around that 5th to 4th on the ladder. I certainly had them as a contender to take out the title, so they need to bank these points now on their run home. They got Moana this week, so they'll be targeting that as another 5-pointer. But I guess the biggest positive for me, holding the Force to 0 in the second half. It's so easy to lower your standards when you're winning comfortably and just allow a few errors and a bit of complacency to creep in. But yeah, they really put the nail in the coffin. So well done to them. And they're an exciting watch when they're playing that brand of football, because the amount of talent they've got in that team, like Rona on the wing with the hat trick, he's someone that struggles to make the 23 most weeks. So much like the Hurricanes, their squad is stacked and they've got some huge competition for spots, which will be keeping everyone accountable.
Yeah, great game for Rona on the wing, Pity. And I thought the Chiefs exposed the blind side of the Force early on in that game as well. And they just seemed to be playing on a different level to the Force pretty much for the whole game. The Force were never really in this game at all. So the Chiefs, they're looking good for the playoffs. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Hurricanes, Blues, but the Chiefs they seem to be coming right at the right time of the season.
Not quite at the right time. They're slow. I think they're slowly building. I think they know that one of their biggest games will be coming up in a couple of weeks, and so they'll be slowly trying to prep for that. Get the fluidity of the team, making sure that everyone's on par. But obviously they're trying to build slowly into it, and once they sort of meet up in round 14, which is going to be one of the big derby matches. Hopefully, actually no, I don't hope that. Although Searle will be like, yes, I do hope that they don't hit the straps on that round. But it's definitely something that they've been chipping away on. I guess against the Force, who are sitting at the bottom of the table. You don't want to be too complacent and just think that you're going to roll over and smash them. You got to still stick to your structures, stick to the game plan, make sure everyone's doing their job, so that when it comes to the derbies later on, that they've ticked those boxes to in terms of prep.
Last game of the last week was the Drua heading to take on the Brumbies, and I thought the Drua were. They kept it a wee bit closer than I thought they would. They are a different team, as we've mentioned many times, away from home as opposed to in Fiji. But they never gave up, Searle.
Yeah, not an easy place to go, and I think we probably all had the Brumbies 13 plus because we thought that the Drua would struggle over in Canberra. But well done to them. I actually thought for large majorities of this game they looked the better side. Again, though, just crucial errors at key times let them down. I thought the Brumbies' discipline was really poor too, so they were probably lucky it was a side like the Drua and not the Hurricanes from a couple of weeks ago, because I don't think they would have come out on the right side of the ledger. So perhaps they underestimated the Drua in this one, but I'm sure it would be a good wake-up call for the Brumbies as well. And it's kind of that dream result. You get the win, but you still get a bit of a reminder that in this competition, you got to be on your game each week, or else you can come away with the L.
Right, let's look ahead to where are we? Round 12 of Super Rugby, and it starts Friday night, 7 o'clock. Moana Pacifica hosting the Chiefs, and boy, oh boy, the bookies are giving Moana Pacifica no chance whatsoever. They're $11 head to head. The Chiefs are $1.02. The Moana Pacifica are 29.5 point underdogs in this match, and the game total is set at 64.5. Searle, I guess the best thing, the big thing here is, can Moana Pacifica cover that 29.5 point line, or will the Chiefs build on last week and just roll right over the top of them?
Yeah, this one has the it has the potential to be ugly, but at the same time, it all comes down to what Chiefs lineup we see, because Pity mentioned before, they got the Canes and the Blues to come, so this could be an opportunity to rest a few bodies, and guys like D-Mac and co might not be out there. You'd like to think Moana at home will like to keep this one within that line, because 30 points is a decent size win, but at the same time, the Chiefs showed on the weekend, if they play their brand of rugby and they really hit their straps, then they're capable of piling on the points. So yeah, at this stage, going off last week's results, I would say the Chiefs would fancy themselves to cover that, and it could be a tough day at the office for Moana.
Pretty quick word on from you on this game here. 29.5 point handicap. That's a lot of tries.
That is a lot of tries. I'm just, but look, I still think that this might be a tough game for the Chiefs. Moana's been pushing pretty hard the last few weeks in terms of results. Some of them have been really tight. And I think they're slowly getting better and better in terms of their structures. Yet they probably just need to fix a few errors, handling errors. But I think this could be a tough game for the Chiefs this week, and you probably won't want to rest too many players, because you still want to make sure that you come off out of this one on top and make it a lot easier for yourselves later on down the track.
Right, let's move on to the match of the round. It's a top of the table battle. First place Hurricanes travelling up north to take on the Blues at Eden Park. I think the bookies have got this pretty much where it should be. They've got the Blues $1.72, Hurricanes $2.02. The Blues are 1.5 point favourites, and the game total set at 53.5. This is afternoon footy up in Auckland as well, which is something of a novelty these days. Look, if I'm leaning one way, and it may be because I'm sitting down here in Petone, I'm leaning towards the Hurricanes at $2.02. I just think over the season so far, the bookies have just underestimated the Hurricanes slightly, and when they've been setting the odds. Look, I think that this is very, very close to where it should be. I just think the Hurricanes at $2.02 represent a wee bit of value. Let's get the word from up north, though. He's only a hop, step, and a jump away from Eden Park, Searle. So, you happy to take the Blues, Searle?
I'm glad you didn't say he was on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, God, this bloke, man.
All the way from Takapuna.
Yeah, there we go. None of that. No, I think this one's going to be tight, isn't it? And this is the game that a lot of people have had circled for a while. It's going to be an interesting matchup in terms of the Hurricanes razzle, that skill set, huge battle at set piece up against the Blues side that under Vern Cotter has really backed their defensive ability, their ability to limit teams' points and then score some of their own as well. I'm gutted to see that Rieko Ioane won't be out there, because that takes a bit of sting out of the Blues attack, particularly in the midfield. But I do think the Blues still have enough to get this done, and I'm hoping that the fans show up to Eden Park, because that has been a tough thing to do this year for the Blues, is to pull a crowd, or a decent crowd anyway. So surely the Blues fans are fired up for this one. There's going to be some massive matchups all across the park. Pity mentioned before that Hurricanes loose forward trio, the Blues trio is going pretty well as well. And I think guys like Hoskins and co would have circled this one as one where they can make a real statement up against that high-flying Hurricanes pack. So, yeah, I haven't been this excited about a game of Super Rugby in a long time. You mentioned afternoon footy. Hopefully the sun comes out in the city of Sails and we get to see an exciting brand played by two teams that are both stacked on paper.
Pity. These two teams have already met earlier this season with the Hurricanes coming out on top. And that was when Vern Cotter went with a Springbok bench. As we speak, we don't know the lineups right now, but I'm guessing that he won't be going with a Springbok bench this time, and it'll be slightly more balanced. So it was probably the worst game for him to go with that mix on the bench. Because he got a couple of injuries during the match in the back line, which meant there were all sorts of players having to play out of position. From that game, can you see the Hurricanes doing something similar this weekend?
I think they just stick to their guns. My biggest battle that I'll be keeping a close eye on will be the packs. The two packs in terms of set piece. You've got Tyrell who'll be wanting to cement that opportunity at tight head. Not that we know if he's starting or not. But I mean, that pack has been going pretty well, especially at set piece. They've probably been one of the most dominant teams in the competition. And then obviously the strike power that they have in their backline, and it obviously being a big game, it all comes down to selection and who they're going to pick to run the cutter in a big derby, whether it's going to be Judd or Perenara. That could be starting in the 9 role, and obviously trying to get a feel of how they want to, whether they want to have a strong start or they want to speed things up in the second half, just to try and take that scoreline a bit further than it should be. So it's going to be an interesting one in terms of the selection process, in terms of who they want to start and who they want to bring from the bench, in terms of whether go with a tough one with TJ, and then we bring when they bring Judd in to speed the game up and start working hard around the ruck area.
I guess, Searle, one question is, does Kiriru Symes start for the Canes, or does he come off the bench after that? I guess it was a better than solid display for his first game for the Canes. Do you see him starting again?
Oh, he definitely could. It's interesting because coaches have quite different philosophies on this, don't they? A lot of them like to think, Riley earned that opportunity to start. He's a contracted member of the squad, so you go straight back to him once he's available. But like you touched on, Kiriru Symes went great last week. So do you go with the guy who's had the more recent time in the saddle and just started to establish himself in the team? It's a coin toss either way. I think they're both quality options. And it's just a credit to the depth that the Hurricanes have formed. Like, Kiriru Symes wasn't even in the squad. To be able to bring someone in and then they play at that level is pretty outstanding. So there's going to be some massive matchups. That battle of the hookers will be interesting too, because I'm sure those Canes boys, they'll still be after Ricky Riccatelli. Like, it's been a few years now since he left, but people don't forget that type of stuff fast. So there'll be some niggle coming his way as well.
It's going to be a fascinating battle, and the one of those individual battles that I'm really looking forward to, if they both are selected, and I think they probably will be, Braden Yossi up against Hoskins Satutu. Oh. That will be huge.
Most definitely.
Right. The last game we'll look at, because we've got to move this along, because once again, we're going to get kicked out of this room pretty soon. The Highlanders, it's a Southern Derby. The Highlanders hosting the Crusaders at Forsyth Bar under the roof. Highlanders at home, they're $2.45 outsiders against the Crusaders, who are $1.50. The Highlanders are 5.5-point underdogs. The game total set at 52.5. that was a tough game the Highlanders had last weekend, Searle. Can you see them getting back up for this? Well, they'll be up for it, I'm sure. They love to knock over the Crusaders anytime they can, and they may be smelling a wee bit of blood in the water after the Reds showed everyone the sort of game plan that is successful against the Crusaders at the moment. Can you make a case for the Highlanders here?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say they might be smelling a bit of blood in the water. Like, it's not often that the Highlanders come into this game in round 12 sitting higher on the ladder than the Crusaders. And anytime they can knock off their old foe, they'll well and truly be up for this one. If you told me 2 weeks ago, I would have gone with the Crusaders for sure, because I was completely out on the Landers and I was back in on the Crusaders. But now, I don't know, man. This one's so hard to predict. I think the points start in favor of the Landers, and playing some alternate starts is probably the way that I'll go, because I do think at home that they'll show up with plenty of fire in the belly and the chance to knock over the bigger brother almost. I'm excited for this game too. It's going to be a heck of a Saturday and some great derby games. I'd love to see the Landers get it done, particularly because I enjoy seeing the Crusaders lose. But at the same time, I do wonder if the Crusaders will just have a bit too much experience in their squad to come over the top of a young Highlanders team.
Pity, Highlanders currently in 7th place, the Crusaders in 10th, but only 4 points outside the top 8. Can the Crusaders get up for this one?
Yeah, potentially. I guess, if they've learnt from the weekend's results in the game, there's definitely potential. But I'm a little bit like Searle. I'm keen for the Landers to get the job done this week, and I'm backing them to get the job done.
Right, very good. Okay, let's move on to betting now, and we'll have a look at last week.
Here we go, Paulie. Here we go. You can hear it. Normally he's like, we'll have a look at last week. Now he's like, right, the betting, let's look at last week, eh?
Right.
Here we go.
Searle last week, he had put the $100 on a multi. He had the Canes to win by 13 and over, Moana Pacifica to win, Crusaders to win, Brumbies to win, Chiefs to win by 13 or more. Unfortunately, that was not successful. He is now down $312.50 for the season. Pity had 2 multis. He had the Canes to win by 13 or more, Moana Pacifica to win, Chiefs to win, Brumbies to win by 13 or more. Unfortunately, that wasn't successful either, but he had TJ Perenara to score a try. And one thing I learned from last week, if you're on the reserves bench, you don't get quoted by the bookies unless you take the field. So as soon as he takes the field, they'll work out how much time is left and then put a price up for him. So he got out at around $7. And by the time he scored the try, he was out at around $12, I think. So
you didn't tell me this before.
You made a little profit there, Pity, and you're now up $393.20 for the season. Let's have a look. I had a 3-leg multi, all to score tries. TJ Perenara, Alex Talia, and Sevu Reece at $100 on. That made me $1,923.
You only said 2 names. Did you say TJ in there too?
TJ, Talia, and Reece. I'm now up over $1,000 for the season. So I know. Look,
hang on.
Form is temporary.
Where were you before that?
Form is temporary. Class is permanent.
Wow.
And once again, that's been proven.
Okay, hang on. Shall we just do your picks for you? Shall we tell you who's going to score in the tries during the week?
Well, let's start off with Searle and just see where he's going to put his money this week.
Nah, don't start with me. I'm sucking, mate. This was the only thing keeping me going, was the fact I wasn't coming last. Paulie was bankrupt. He was selling all his hotels and Monopoly, and now a massive change of the tide, and he is the big dog. This is crazy scenes. I'm trying to get out of the negative. I'm becoming desperate, but I'm not going quite for the Paulie Hail Mary yet. I'll save that for rounds 14 and 15. But what I will do is I'll go the Blues 1-12. In a tight win, which I'm sure will rack you two up. I'll go the Highlanders plus 16.5 on the alternative line, and I'll go the Reds head to head. That gets me $4.17. I'll chuck $80 on that. And then I'm going to chuck $20 on Jeff to Umaga Allen to score off the back of Paulie's stat. I've done it impromptu. I'm probably death riding him now, but we'll go with Umaga Allen to dot down.
Right, Pity, where are you going?
I'm pretty close to what Searle is. Only difference is I've got the Canes. So Reds 13 and over, Canes 12 and under.
Yep.
I've gone Landers 12 and under.
Yes.
Putting $70 on that. And then I'm going with Braden Yossi to score a try, even though I don't know if he's even in the starting line.
I think he probably will be, but we'll wait and see. I'm going to go conservative now that I've got to the front of the field.
Oh, no.
Look at him.
This is how you lose it. This is how you lose it.
Comes back into the positive, and all of a sudden, I'm just going conservative.
I'm going to block out the last few overs. I'm just going to look. I think the Hurricanes have been the form team all season, even after that loss in Canberra. So I'm happy to take the Hurricanes to win by 1-12 at $3.20. Put the whole $100 on that. Boom, that's me done. One single, all done for the week. Hoping for the Canes to get the job done.
That's just so you can go down to $900, not minus $900.
Right.
Mate, you got to stick to what's working, Paulie. Stick to what has worked for you.
Let's look at the tipping comp that we've got going on at the moment. There's been a change at the top of the table, and Sam M. Howie, who was the best performed last week, is now top of the table with 55 points, just in front of Moose Man at 54 points. Dan 28 is back on 50.5 points. And then we've got C. Poissy 69, who's on 49.5 points. So very, very congested leaderboard at the top there. And I'm happy to say that Searle is in the top 20, right on 20 points. Had a very, very good week last week. I'm nowhere to be seen, and I have no idea where Powser is either.
Powser's sitting. I'm back in the
top
100.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, I had a pretty good weekend.
There he is.
I only had one wrong.
79th Powser. So, in the top 100. Searle in the top 20. Yeah. Don't forget, keep playing. There's some bonus bets to give away at the end of the season. Look, we're going to get kicked out. I'm in a bit of trouble here. We've gone over time. So, thanks to Searle for joining us. Who you got this weekend, Searle?
We're taking on East Coast Bays, which should be a heck of a game. And then we've got a double denim party afterwards as well. So the boys will be well dressed. I did just want to say, though, off the back of that tipping results, it just goes to show you can know rugby, but you're no good on the punt. So clearly I'm the rugby expert. I just can't punt for shit. So that's why I'm coming last in the punting, but winning the tipping. You two jokers, you know where to be found in the tipping comp. That's where the cream rises to the top, mate.
That's because I've been doing an Israel dag, try and pick with the heart when you should be picking with the head.
Fitty, good luck with Napier.
It'll be a very long bus ride, and we obviously know that the roads up the coast there are not very good, but hopefully the boys can get there because there's a bit of rain up there. Hopefully the boys can get, or we can get through on the old pahi and get the job done and come home safely. We actually got to drop our under-15s team off in Napier, carry on to Gizzy, play our game, they play their game, and they've got to wait for us until we pick them up on the way home.
I hope it's not a big aftermatch then. Anyway, good luck to the boys there. Don't forget, check out all the promos on the app or at tab.co.nz. There's plenty there for you to get stuck into. And we'll be back next week with another edition of the Pick and Go podcast.
Go the Blues.